It's the Scotty Myers Show.
Hey, welcome to this week's edition of the show. I'm your host, Scotty Myers. Later in the show, I got a really cool interview guest, Ashley Eckstein, the voice of Ahsoka Tano. I caught up with her, and we'll talk all kinds of Ahsoka stuff and Star Wars stuff. And but right now, as I have been for the last few weeks, which I love, joined by my amazing wife, Natalie.
Second best.
Not second best. Stop okay. That.
Oh.
It's not true. It's just, she's Ahsoka Tano.
Right, yes.
Right?
Yeah, and
just,
I'm
you're you.
Natalie, nothing.
Not nothing. Stop
okay.
that. We don't want to dwell on the whole COVID thing, but really there's not a whole lot else happening on the planet.
In our lives, too.
Yeah. And, we're under, as a lot of places are, the whole, stay home, don't go outside, all that kind of stuff. We've been out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not the only ones. And, we're not talking about going out for a walk around the block. A lot of people are doing that, too. But we're going out. I mean, we're not being irresponsible. It's not like we're going out to line up, at the liquor store every day. We've been to the liquor store. We're taking turns going out and running errands. So what's the big deal?
Here's the thing, though. I will say, we've been out, and I would not put us in the category of the pandemic police, which, I don't know, I'm sure everybody has seen these people on Facebook, which they're posting pictures of, how crazy a busy a store is, or criticizing people for going out. The first thing is, if you see somebody that posts a photo of how busy a store is, just ask, how the fuck did you get that picture?
Yeah, that's what bothers me about those scenarios on Facebook or Instagram of, oh my gosh, I can't believe so many people are at the beach. Oh my God, I can't believe so many people are lining up for Costco. And then you think, yeah, but you're there too? Yeah. That's how you know that's happening? That's how you took that picture? So I don't care if you changed your mind and turned around and left. It's still the fact that you had the same mindset as everyone else. So sit down.
It's hard to, I listen, I understand the whole stay at home, only go out if necessary, all that kind of stuff. I do. And we've definitely limited what we normally would do as far as going out and stuff. We're actually buying groceries.
I know.
A bunch of food at once.
I've never had such regular bowel movements as I have had in self-isolation. And I chalk it all up to not eating out. Although I've gained weight, as I'm sure everyone else has, in the self-isolation hell.
Well, you were going to make me, I had to go to the grocery. We needed groceries. So I went to the grocery store today and you were like, oh, do you want me to make you cinnamon bread? And I was like, fuck yeah.
It keeps me busy and doing something, and then you get this great result.
And I love, you put cinnamon on anything and I'll eat it, I think.
Really?
I think so. And
really?
I think so.
Really?
This is a fun experiment.
It burns.
It's a whole different cinnamon challenge.
Inside me.
But everybody, it must be baking, flour, yeast, chocolate chips, all gone from the grocery store. There were none.
So what's everyone baking, I wonder? Now I'm kind of jealous that everyone's having this fun bake-off in their houses and I'm not invited.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I will say, going out, we were out on the weekend and I had a moment of anxiety.
Yeah.
We were in a Walmart and they've got arrows. I don't know if they've done this in your local stores, but here they have put arrows in the aisles to keep the self-distancing so that people aren't walking.
So you're supposed to be going one direction, which I still think is silly in a grocery store aisle. Because then you feel weird if you're looking for a certain cereal and you know that the cereal goes from one end of the aisle to the other, but you can only go left. But what if I want to go back and look at those mini wheats again that I just walked by?
The worst thing is when you you get behind somebody and they stop. Yeah. Because it's can I blow past them? If you're in an aisle where you're soup's on one end and rice is on the other and you're I'm here for rice.
Yeah.
Fuck the soup. But this guy stops at the soup.
Yeah, most grocery stores they didn't make them to be 6 feet wide. And then you've got grocery carts. So yeah, what do? Do you just try to slink by them, or do you stand 6 feet away from them and wait for them to get the text back from their significant other saying, no, not that extra virgin olive oil, this other extra virgin olive oil. Oh my God.
Well, I had to loop around because I was in the baking aisle and I forgot to grab an ingredient as shredded coconut, and I had passed it, and I was like, well, I can't go back. So I had to like loop around.
I think you're supposed to jump up onto the shelves and climb on. I think that's what they want you to do, and then like climb back.
Okay.
Yeah, go backwards. And
but I had the reason why I had the anxiety was it just everything. There was a cluster of people around me. And nobody seemed to be understanding what they had to do. And everybody had this look on their face. I was like, I think I'm too close to you. I don't know if I'm too close to you. And then the Walmart we were in was playing health announcements over the PA, which is fine, but it felt so dystopian to me.
Well, especially since you and I were picking out candy. And you were going to look at video games, and here above our heads is, please stand back 6 feet and respect others and make sure to wash your hands and disinfect shopping carts. And you're like, ooh, Injustice 2. And I'm like, ooh, candy.
Yeah.
And then we go over to the aisle where they sell scales, because you and I are fatties. And
speak for yourself, sister.
Not the way you talk. And I think we're chunking out like other people. You're sitting around, not doing much, not as active as usual because like gyms are closed. And so I think we wanted to get a scale to monitor what is happening, and to kind of slap ourselves on the wrist for like, hey, you shouldn't have had that delicious pizza. And then you shouldn't have had the leftovers at midnight. And then you shouldn't have started to grab the leftover crust out of the garbage and dip it into the dipping sauce that you also put in the garbage at 6 a.m. the next day.
I'm really glad I didn't witness any of that. Really glad.
But the scale is clearly a non-essential item. But
100%.
How do you not? You're there, Like, it's so hard for humans to turn off that element in our brains. It's like, hey, we're at Walmart. Well, it's not like they blocked off all the aisles. Why don't we go look at bedspreads and sheet sets?
Well, and I also think it's a little bit of like, if you go to a store like Walmart, using them as the example, once you go there, the damage is done.
Yeah.
Like kind of you go, oh, I'm going to get groceries, and then, oh, I bought a bunch of Easter candy too. It's like, or toys and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, or whatever. I bought a video game. But the damage was done. I went in the Walmart, whether I was there to buy groceries or I specifically went there to buy a video game. It kind of doesn't matter at that point because I've already gone outside, which they've told me not to do unless it's 100% necessary. Uh-huh. So if, say it is 100% necessary, I go to Walmart to get groceries, I'm already there.
Yeah, we're already being assholes.
It's not like I'm driving across town to pick up something else. I'm walking 2 aisles over and there's not that many people there, so I'm not even interacting with anybody.
No one else cares about their weight at this time except us. But no, we are clearly assholes.
Yeah, well.
And the first step to, living life as a happy asshole is admitting that you're an asshole. So
that's what Dennis Leary taught me years ago in song.
The same people who are going and jumping on social media with pictures of how busy Costco is, and they're there, that's how they know. They're assholes. We're assholes. We're all assholes.
But just don't be the asshole that shames people for going out. Because you're going out too. We're all going out, okay? Like, we have to. We need food. We need things. And
I think we just want to be normal. We just want to have some normalcy.
Yeah.
The sun's coming out. We want to buy our barbecue so that we can barbecue hamburgers on our deck or on your patio, wherever you live, and feel like summer's here and everything's going to be okay. Exactly.
So it's the little things that are going to make you feel like everything's okay. So for you, what's going to be, like you said, like a hamburger on the deck. That's a nice little thing that would make you feel like things. What's a little thing that outside of the house that would make you feel, I guess, normal?
Like everything's going to be
okay. Everything's going to be okay. Like if there was one thing you could snap your fingers and go, today they're going to let you do this.
I would say go to parks, because now where we are, they're all closed off. And just to walk in a dog park and see people doing things that make them happy, and happy dogs, but also ice cream. Because because I don't want to go through a Dairy Queen Blizzard drive-through and go, oh, she wasn't wearing gloves, and oh, I'm an asshole for being in the Dairy Queen drive-through. But also, like, you know, I just want to have ice cream because the sun's out, and that's why I bought a scale.
Yeah. For me, it's the gym. Obviously, hands down. But I mean, I miss the gym. The first day that gym opens, I'm probably gonna be there for 5 hours.
Great,
like
asshole.
I probably am that, and I guess if it was something not like that, baseball should be happening right now.
Right.
I would love to just be able to turn a ball game on and sit down and watch a ball game.
I could give you a ball game to turn on.
It's not.
I think you still have 2, right?
I do still have 2. I mean, they've been clipped, but they're still there. Hard
to see past all those hairs. You need to trim.
I've trimmed. I trimmed down. Thanks for noticing. The other thing that I wanted to mention, though, just because I've actually had to unfollow a couple of people on Facebook because of this.
Oh, I've muted people. That whole mute so-and-so for 30 days is a godsend.
Because there's all these people sharing these ridiculous conspiracy theories on Facebook, and it's just relentless. Like, the Bible thumpers are one thing, right? Because there are people out there that this is from God, and it's because blah, blah, blah. Pick your whatever, right? They're one thing. But the people saying that, like, the new 5G cell networks is spreading the coronavirus. Like, you know, the coronavirus is a man-made weapon from China to destroy North America's economy. And, you know, Tom Hanks didn't really have this one, really. Tom Hanks and all these other celebrities that have gotten the coronavirus, like Prince Charles and all, they didn't really get the coronavirus. They're part of a pedophile ring, and they've been arrested. And that's why they had to be isolated, because they weren't isolated, they were arrested.
Oh my God.
And people are sharing this shit, and it's just like, you know what? Here's the thing, even if that's what you believe, fuck, I feel sorry for you. But even if that's what you believe, this isn't the time to share that shit. People are nervous. They're on edge. Everybody's feeling a little uneasy. Keep your batshit theories to yourself at this point.
They're not listening to you. So,
I don't think so.
So we're no help spreading that message. But yeah, it goes beyond just like the people that you follow on Facebook, because today, Roseanne Barr, everyone's favorite Barr, she said that coronavirus is a conspiracy to get rid of my generation.
Okay.
I didn't think she was that old, but
she's older than you think.
Yeah, but that's another, like, you can't help but wonder, if she didn't get fired, year ago, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Would she still be making these comments if she was still on that show? I don't know. She's
been making weird ass comments for years, like even before Roseanne got that relaunch. Mm-hmm. She made some weird ass comments and stuff like that. She has a farm, and I think she's spending too much time in self-isolation.
Isn't it like a pistachio farm?
Something
or
like that.
Something I'm allergic to? Hazelnuts? Something like that.
But yeah, I mean...
yeah, it's a scheme to kill baby boomers.
Yeah. She needs to get off that farm a whole lot more. Maybe Roseanne was good because she saw other people, like when she had the show.
Yeah.
And now she's,
she's stuck on a funny farm. The joke's there.
The joke is there.
I was hoping that you would make it.
Life is like a box of chocolates. That's what I use to lure the children in the van.
What does that have to do with anything?
Tom Hanks and his right. Like,
yes, back to there.
Circling back, because that's the most bizarre thing I've ever heard in my life. The children love Wilson. Anyway, on to the off story of the week. As if that is not enough of one that makes you going to say, "Oh, for fuck's sakes." This one, I don't know where this came from. I think you said it came from India?
I think it was from India, yeah.
We could be wrong on that, though. But a couple had twins. And,
Yay!
What?
They had twins. Congratulations.
And they gave them names.
Which you do when you have children.
Right. They called them Corona and COVID.
Oh, that's so surprising.
why would you do that to your children? Like,
well, I mean, what would their nicknames be?
I don't know.
Corna, Corey, and Covey. That's cute. Corey and Covey.
No, that's terrible. The kids are going to kick the ever-living shit out of them in school. They really are.
People will be too afraid to go near them. Those kids are going to have no friends. Everyone's going to stay 2 meters, 6 feet apart.
Well, that's true, too. Everybody's going to... But it's just... I don't know what... Like, that is, to me, we're always going to remember this time.
Yeah, yes.
But why would you want to, I don't know, shellac that in front of you in that kind of way? Like, you're going to be raising these kids for years, and every time you're like, COVID, go to your room.
Right.
It's like...
Well, then maybe the parents will be a little more sensitive to them. I know that I'm just reading about it now. The couple said the names would remind them about the hardships they faced during the lockdown in India and ahead of the successful delivery of the babies. So I guess it's just a way to think about these crazy times and, you know, that it'll all be okay because now they have 2 healthy babies.
It's a way to get themselves in the newspaper.
Kind of.
Is what it is. You know what's going to be the lowest attended birthday party ever? COVID's 19th.
Oh, poor coronavirus.
Offs. On to the geek news of the week. This is your favorite part of the show, I know.
I'm just sitting here. Drinking.
We'll start with Marvel. Of course, last week when we talked, they had delayed the Black Widow movie, but we didn't have a date for it. Now we do. Of course, they released that just a couple of days after the show came out. But Black Widow is now going to hit theaters November 6th. And if you're a huge Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, you may be going, wait a minute. I thought that was when the Eternals was coming out. Well, the Eternals has been moved to February 12th, 2021. They've kind of unveiled their whole slate into half of 2022. So after the Eternals, we get Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings on May 5th, 2021. Doctor Strange's sequel, November 5th, 2021. Thor, Love and Thunder on February 18th, 2022. Black Panther 2, May 6th, 2022. And I think one that you're super interested in, Captain Marvel 2 on July 8th, 2022.
I'm going to be dead by then. Or I might have twins, Corona and COVID.
Somebody else is going to be the father because I'm all fixed up. The interesting thing about this is they also gave dates for some movies that haven't been announced as far as titles go, but Disney said these are dates that we're going to have Marvel movies. One was October 7th, 2022, and somebody that... has been very good at figuring out what movies are coming out. He must be an insider on some level. His inside sources say that's when the Blade reboot is going to hit, which makes sense. October, kind of Halloween-y.
Right.
That would fit for Blade. So if you're excited for the new Blade, you're going to have to wait until October of 2022. But the other thing, too, with all these dates that Marvel set out is I would take them all kind of with a hopeful grain of salt, because there's also been a rumor that says Marvel has delayed all their production until September. Things I hope will be working by then. So all these dates are set with September going forward as production. But if for some reason they have to delay more, that could affect some of those movie dates going forward. If they can't get the movies produced, then obviously they can't release them. So
as ridiculous as it sounds to have, I mean, you know, 2023 movies on the calendars, it does give people something to look forward to. It does make you think, oh, cool, movies, remember those? Because I try to think, like, in a year, will all of this matter? What everyone in the world is going through? And it will. This is going to affect people forever. And it goes everywhere from, like, movies being canceled and rescheduled to, you know, literally people in hospital and dying. Like, we're going to be thinking about this for a long time. So if there's only that little simple thing that you can look forward to, and if one of them is movies, hang on to it.
No, it's actually going very deep, but that's very good advice. I remember telling my therapist that years ago when I was talking about, like, my really bad depression, how every now and then if I got really, really bad, I'd be like, well, I can't I gotta at least make it until that movie comes out. Those are like my fence posts, where it was like, okay, I'll make it till Batman Begins comes out because I love Batman. I gotta see Batman, and then there'd be something after that I would. So if that's all it is something like that you can set a date to and go, fuck, I can't wait to see Black Widow, and that's November. Yeah. So just focus on that.
Right.
It's actually really good advice. Switching over to the DC world, the CW Superman and Lois television series, which went straight to series instead of like the pilot and all that kind of stuff. They have cast Emanuel Shaqiri as Lana Lang, according to Deadline. Now, if you're not totally familiar with Lana Lang, she was a friend of Clark's back in Smallville. Maybe they dated. It depends on which story you go with.
Scandalous.
And now she's moving to Metropolis, where all her friends have moved, but Clark is with Lois. Oh no! Because Superman does need to be in a love triangle. Listen.
Are they still looking for a Lois?
They have a Lois. Are they
looking for a chubby, zit-covered, self-isolated, middle-aged Lois?
No.
I'll put a bra on. I'll do it.
No, they already have Lois. Elizabeth Tulloch is Lois.
Oh, she sounds attractive.
She is. And Tyler Hoechlin. I'm just saying she's an attractive lady.
What do you mean?
Tyler Hoechlin is Superman. You've seen them in the CW Supergirl series and the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossovers and stuff like that. So they've already been out there. Okay. So you're late to the casting party is what I'm saying to that.
Well, next year.
And Black Adam is supposed to be going into production soon with The Rock starring as Black Adam. One of Shazam's biggest foes, but he's getting his own movie because he is a bit of an anti-hero. And some people were curious if his love interest would be in the film.
Did they cast it yet?
They have not cast it.
Because I'm available.
You're going to have to...
I'm like really short.
You're going to look weird next to The Rock.
Next to The Rock, he would look like a giant god.
His calf is about as big as you.
I could only hope, but I have gained some weight.
But Adriana Tomez will be in the movie, apparently. Depending on her origin story, there's a few different takes on it. The character was created for TV. It was part of the Shazam ISIS Hour on CBS, because that was her superhero name, was Isis. This was back before ISIS meant something else.
Right.
So I highly doubt that when we see her in the film, she'll be called Isis.
But it's still a name.
It is. It's an Egyptian god, a goddess.
It's
but
pronounced Aziz. Actually, that has also a bad backstory nowadays, thanks to Aziz Ansari.
But
how about I see the S is silent.
So, but basically, according to a strong rumor and people that have been working on it, that we are going to see Black Adam's love interest. And it's basically somebody he falls for and gives her a bit of his power, kind of like Shazam does to the Shazam family. And yeah, so
I'd
really...
be so good at that.
You would be great at that. So... I don't know what's going to happen with the Black Adam production, if it's going to get delayed now because of all the film production delays, and the same with Shazam 2, which is supposed to be entering production in the new year, but I know pre-production should have been probably going on now. So hopefully they can still get Black Adam and Shazam 2 on schedule, because they're scheduled to open up 4 months apart, which is great because we need
more money.
Well, not that, but everything needs to build to a Black Adam Shazam clash.
That's exactly why they're doing it.
That's what we need.
Not for money and toy sales.
Black Adam and Shazam clash.
Right. It's all for the story.
Clash. It's a very important story. I'll educate you one of these days. Now we're going to switch flat over into a lot of Star Wars stuff, because one of the breakout characters of the Clone Wars, which... Even though you're a fan of Star Wars, you haven't really watched much. You've seen me watch a couple episodes.
Yes.
But one of the breakout characters was Ahsoka Tano. Fans have fallen in love with Ahsoka. She's Anakin Skywalker's Padawan. And very, very cool character. Has gone on through the Clone Wars, is into Star Wars Rebels. There's been books. She's been in video games. Looks like Rosario Dawson is going to play her in live action in The Mandalorian. But until that happens, there's still only one person that has ever been Ahsoka Tano, and that is Ashley Eckstein. And I had a chance to catch up with her and chat with her, and here is that interview.
First off, how are you holding up in kind of the madness that we're dealing with right now?
Oh goodness. I'm healthy and my family's healthy. So, I feel like we have a new bar. As long as we can wake up and say that we're healthy and our loved ones are healthy, then it's just a great day. So, so we're doing well. How about yourself?
Doing good. I'm not going to lie, a little stir crazy.
Yeah.
It's times like this where I wish I had a palatial estate so that there were rooms I didn't visit often. But other than that, holding in there. Yeah, we're healthy, which is, again, like you say, kind of the main thing.
That's good. Well, I will tell you, I feel like I've had the opposite problem. We've actually had a bunch of non-coronavirus things happen behind the scenes, like just, with little things like things breaking in your house or, just odds and ends that have kept us very busy. So, quarantine has been anything but slow over here. So we've definitely had our distractions.
That's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
Yeah.
I want to start with the new book, the I Am a Padawan book, because you've written a book before, but this one is very different. The other one was kind of like more of an inspiring kind of chase your dreams type of book. And this one, just a children's book. So was it a bit more challenging to do a children's book?
Just to take a step back in terms of writing a book in general, I have to be honest, it's something I said I would never do. And it's not because I didn't want to, of course. I mean, it was a dream, but it was something that I didn't think I was capable of. I didn't think I had the talent to be a writer or an author. I mean, every single time I would set out to write something, I would end up with an essay. And that was it. And when I had the opportunity to write my first book, it was nonfiction. It's called It's Your Universe. You have the power to make it happen. And it's like an advice book on how to make your dreams come true. And when Disney gave me the opportunity to write the book, I said, well, this is great and I would love to do it. I said, but there's one problem. I can't write a book. and they were so kind. They said, "Oh no, you don't have to. We'll pair you up with an author, and she can help you." And she was absolutely wonderful. And what she did for me is, she gave me an outline of what I wanted to say, and I realized that's what was holding me back. I didn't know how to structure my thoughts for a book. And once she provided me with almost like a chapter outline and said, okay, here's what I can tell. Here's what you're trying to say. Then I realized that if I wanted the book to be in my own voice and in my own words, I had to write it myself. And I had a bit of a panic attack because, again, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But I just started writing, and I wrote in the way that I talk. And before I knew it, I was able to write a complete book because once I had that chapter outline, it made it much easier. So once my first book was published, then it's like a renewed sense of confidence. It's like, oh my gosh, I did this. And now it becomes infectious. You kind of want to do another one. And so I shared with Disney and Lucasfilm. I said, look, now that I kind of believe that I can, and I've had such a great time doing so, I hope you'll consider me for other books. Well, I said that I could only do nonfiction, that I would never do a fiction story. Well, then they call and they say, okay, we want you to do a fiction book, and we want you to do one for Star Wars. Well, thankfully, they said it's a children's book, and so I thought, okay, I think I can do that. It's not too long, and especially for kids, so the word count wasn't too high. But it was, again, very intimidating, and I kind of put it off, but thank goodness for deadlines. When you have a deadline, you have no choice.
That's true.
I kind of locked myself in my room one day and just binged the Clone Wars. And I picked out all of my favorite moments and my favorite lessons that Ahsoka learns. And again, I just had the best time writing it. I ended up writing it in a day. And it's kind of like once you get over the negative voices in your head that's telling you I can't do this, once you can just kind of get over those voices and somehow silence them, then truly anything's possible. And I had the best time. And so I'm a Padawan is it's the journey. It's Ahsoka's journey of becoming a Padawan and the moments and the lessons that she learns. And, the reader, especially kids that are, learning to be students themselves, because a Padawan is just a student. Even though these lessons happen in a galaxy far, far away, they're definitely relatable to kids today.
Most definitely. And I mean, it's an important thing to kind of learn how to learn, I think. And in some ways, I don't think we ever get past being a Padawan because we're always learning something.
Yep.
So I think that's a key lesson for kids to learn, is to learn how to learn, because nobody really explains that, I guess.
No, that's actually great advice. That's great advice. And I also think, I just read the book on Instagram the other day during an Instagram live. And as I was reading it, I was like, man, these are good reminders even for adults. To your point, we're always learning. You never reach a point where you're like, okay, I've learned everything there is to learn. I'm done. No, I mean, we're going to be learning until the day we die. And, even we need to be reminded of these lessons. And as I was reading the book, they were just really good reminders, even for me. And I feel like for adults in general, because they're, these lessons are lessons of bravery and helping each other and always having hope. And especially during these times, I think these are all lessons that we should be reminded of.
100%. That's why going back and watching like old animated Disney movies are so great, because there's always that kind of life lesson in them. And when you go back and rewatch them as adults, you're like, oh yeah,
yes,
kind of forgot that. Now, obviously, like Ahsoka has been a huge factor in your life. When you took that role, could you see down the road that where she would lie in Star Wars fandom now? Because I know initially there was pushback to Ahsoka, and now when we look at where she sits in the Star Wars realm, she's this beloved character. Could you see that road for her when you took the role?
I didn't see the road is to where we are now. Of course, I always hoped that Ahsoka would become beloved, as she is now. But I was always ahead of the fans, because we were fortunate to, we were always a season ahead from what the fans were seeing. So when the fans watched the Clone Wars movie, we were already done with season 1. And, of course, when Ahsoka was first introduced after the Clone Wars movie, she definitely had her haters. And it was heartbreaking, because I knew how groundbreaking this character was. I knew how positive she was. I knew the hero that she was and had the capability to be for so many people. And I just asked fans, I begged them to go on the journey with her. From day one, I said, look, no character is perfect when they start out. And if they are perfect, then they're not a very exciting character, because they have nowhere to go. They have no arc to, no journey to go on. And I said, look, Ahsoka's far from perfect, but trust me, I'm a season ahead, and she's headed in the direction that you want her to go. So please, enjoy the journey with her. And thankfully, fans did. Pretty much after the first season, she was winning people over. And fortunately, I'm so thankful to George Lucas and Dave Filoni and Lucasfilm and then Disney that we've had so many years to get to know Ahsoka. I think, part of the reason that she's so beloved is, very few Star Wars characters, have been with us for this long and have this many stories that, they've been able to tell. And an entire generation grew up with Ahsoka. Ahsoka in many ways was the eyes of the audience for the Clone Wars. So they experienced the Clone Wars through Ahsoka's eyes. And so there's definitely an attachment to Ahsoka. And I think, what Dave Filoni and his writing team have done so well is everyone can relate to Ahsoka. Somehow they managed to take gender out of it, to take race out of it, to take, all sorts of whether it's political views or just, they created a character that everyone, regardless of your race or, gender or religion, everyone can relate to. If you think about it, she's just this alien with orange skin.
Yeah.
Everyone can see themselves as Ahsoka. And it's such a beautiful thing that they've done. It's like I started the hashtag Ahsoka lives in all of us. And it's truly because we can all relate to her.
That's very, very true. She's a great, also for younger people just getting into Star Wars, she's a great entry point to the saga and the story. But that must have been exceptionally mentally tasking for you those early days, knowing where the story was going, but not being able to say anything except for trust me, which is a hard thing for people to buy, especially Star Wars fans can be, as we know, hypercritical. So that must have been really mentally draining for you.
In the beginning it was definitely a bit of a shock because I loved this character so much. And it was shocking that she was met with such mixed reviews, I think, at first. But I can be a bit naive at times, and I say that in a good way. I say that I have chronic naivete, where, sometimes I can somehow block out the negative. And I don't think in many ways it's not on purpose. It's just, it's a naiveness that I actually am thankful for because I don't know what I don't know. And to me, I just took the approach of being honest and genuine about the character. And it's like, well, why wouldn't you like Ahsoka Tano? What is there not to like about Ahsoka Tano? And kind of taking that approach and just being honest with people, and listening to fans and saying, well, I hear you. I hear what you're saying about her, but here's all these other things that you should consider too. And I kind of was a bit naive to the hate. And I just kind of blazed on and said, but she's great and just give her the chance. And if you give her the chance, you're really going to like her. Just trust me. And I think by having that naive attitude is what allowed me to just kind of be positive and put on a happy face and continue to tell stories. And thankfully, over time, we had more and more stories to tell. And people just decided to go on the journey with her.
Yeah, I mean, she's a character I don't think anybody's ever going to want to see disappear now. And Star Wars has, thankfully they didn't with Ahsoka, but Star Wars has a bad habit of creating very cool characters and getting rid of them very quickly. It's a bad habit of Star Wars. I wanted to switch gears and just talk a little bit about some things that you've done, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was reading your Wikipedia, one of your first jobs was at Hollywood Studios, back when it was Disney MGM Studios.
Yes.
I went to that park the year it opened, in '89. Can you believe how different that park is now?
Oh gosh, no, and I'm with you. I actually I grew up in Orlando, Florida. My dad was a Disney World cast member, and I went to MGM Studios, now Hollywood Studios. I went to it the week it opened, and I remember how groundbreaking it was. I remember walking through the gates and being on Hollywood Boulevard and just being in awe of, getting to be one of the first people at that park. And, I have to say, I always had an attachment to the Magic Kingdom. I always wanted that to be my park, but it wasn't. It actually, Disney's Hollywood Studios became my park. It was, the park I was assigned to when I first became a cast member when I was 16 years old. It was the park I went to when I did Star Wars weekends as the voice of Ahsoka. It was the very first park that gave me the chance to sell merchandise with my company, Her Universe. It's a park of firsts for me, and I will forever have just a special bond with that park.
Now, you brought up something I was going to ask you about in a couple of questions, but Star Wars weekends. I went to a few of those. Those were amazing. I miss them dearly. Has there been any talk of bringing those back?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I don't have any inside information in terms of whether there would be, the opportunity to bring back Star Wars weekends or an event like it. But I've definitely shared my opinion, and I share the same opinion as you do. It's my hope that we can get some sort of event like Star Wars weekends to come back to Disney's Hollywood Studios. And part of that is, just the community that it brings. Star Wars, the thing that I like most is the community aspect of it. And, Star Wars, being a Star Wars fan is not a trend. It's literally, it's a part of who you are. It's a part of how you would describe yourself. And Star Wars Weekends became a place similar to Star Wars Celebration, a place where, fans can just come and truly celebrate who they are. And I believe and hope that one day we'll get back to something like that, because Batuu, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, is such a wonderful place. It's a community. It's not just a place you go to and you go to once and then you never go back again. It's really a place where you can go and just immerse yourself and imagine yourself living there. It's just truly a wonderful place. So I hope we'll get back to something like Star Wars Weekends, because it's really a wonderful thing that builds community.
Yeah, and you were a fantastic host on them. And as a fan, like getting to hear the stories of like Warwick Davis telling stories or Ray Park telling stories and that, it was very cool. So that's what I'd like to see them bring that back in some form or another. It'd be great. And then you mentioned Galaxy's Edge. I was there opening day in Florida, among the madness and early in the morning. But for you, being a Star Wars fan, but also someone that's part of that world, what was your first trip to Galaxy's Edge like?
Oh, goodness. I have to say, my first visit to Galaxy's Edge was truly surreal. I actually just came across a photo the other day, and it wasn't even taken inside because it was before it opened, so I wasn't allowed to even take a photo. But and it's something I really haven't talked about, so I'm glad you asked me the question. I had the opportunity to be one of the very first people that didn't work on the land, to be one of the very first people to visit Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It was before it was even done, so it was still very much under construction, but the Millennium Falcon was done. It was built. And it was before Star Wars Celebration, and they wanted to get some reaction shots of Star Wars fans visiting Galaxy's Edge for the first time. And I was very, very fortunate that they chose me for that opportunity. And what it was I got a private tour from none other than Scott Trowbridge, one of the Disney Imagineers that helped create Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And for 3 hours, he walked me through. I got literally a one-on-one tour with Scott Trowbridge. And I still, I got to, the Smuggler's Run was done. It was completed. So I got to just literally walk through the land, and I got to hear all of the hidden details and all of the thought that went behind it. And it's a day that I will never forget. And I will say I did cry when I first sat down in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon inside Smuggler's Run. I cried. It was so incredible. And it was something that I had dreamed of as a Star Wars fan. And then I also got to go back and film a video for Disney right before, so once the land was complete, but right before it opened, I got to spend an entire day in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. So again, it's something I pinch myself. I'll never take it for granted. I'll always remember those days. And it's something I'm grateful for. As an actress in Star Wars, it's never lost on me, the very cool opportunities that you get. And as a fan, I will never take it for granted.
I'm just glad I'm not the only one that cried when I got on the Millennium Falcon.
Oh yeah.
They did such a great job with that. It's like you walked onto a set of A New Hope or something like that first feeling, when you first see the hallways and stuff. It's so good.
Definitely.
Yeah. So shifting back to Ahsoka, I heard you say that when you read the lines for Rise of Skywalker, you did that cold. You didn't really know what they were.
Yeah, it was so top secret that we didn't get the script ahead of time, and I walked in to Bad Robot, and specifically into a screening room in Bad Robot, and there was just 3 people in the room. 2 of them were Matthew Wood and J.J. Abrams, and J.J. Abrams walked up to me and introduced himself and thanked me for being in the movie. And I was speechless. Like, I couldn't believe he was thanking me for being in episode 9. And I remember being like, no, thank you for this opportunity. This is truly a dream come true.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Oh no. So the script, they handed me the script once I walked into the screening room, and they gave me a little direction because I actually read all the lines. I thought today in quarantine, my grammar is going down the tubes, but I read all of the lines that you hear during that scene, and I guess they picked and choose what line they wanted everyone to say in the sequence. But they gave me a little bit of direction, and they said, "Okay, go." And I hadn't even had the chance to read it yet, so I was so nervous. I was literally reading the lines for the first time as I'm performing them, and it was just a blur, but it was such an incredible experience.
And doing that, does it take you time to find Ahsoka's voice, or do you just slip right into it?
No, at this point, I can just slip right into it. I've been doing her voice for 14 years, and I definitely have it easier than other actors because it's pretty much Ahsoka's voice is just my voice. Depending on her age, I either lower my voice or I pitch it up. Because naturally when I get talking, my voice can be a bit higher. So depending on Ahsoka's age, I will lower my voice and speak in a lower register. But so that's what I did do with episode 9, because, I don't know exactly what age she was for episode 9, but we imagined that she would be older.
I would have to think, yeah.
Yeah, so I spoke more in the register of Ahsoka's voice when she was on Star Wars Rebels. But it's funny, you're asking me the same question that J.J. Abrams asked me. So after I recorded the lines, he asked me, which was a question I wasn't expecting. He said, because with voice acting, we're not on set. We're standing right behind a microphone, and we have to imagine the scene. We have to imagine the set. There's nothing surrounding us. We don't have any visuals. And so he asked me, he said, I'm just curious. He said, as a voice actor, what's your technique? Do you imagine, the scene? Like, how do you perform? How do you get the voice? And I thought about it for a second, and I said, I don't really imagine anything. It's actually just a feeling. Like, I can feel Ahsoka's voice. I can feel when it's sounding the way it should. And I can feel when it's wrong. like when it's not in the right kind of register, I can feel it. So I don't quite know how to explain it. It's really just, it's a feeling that I get when it's right or when it's wrong.
Well, she's part of you, so it's a feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
For somebody, I think a lot of people want to maybe try voice acting or try to get into voice acting or anything like that. What do you say to people that are interested in maybe trying to go down that road?
Well, that's a great question, and it's one that I love to talk about because there's a lot of misconception around it. So voice acting is acting. So anyone that wants to get into voice acting, my first suggestion to them, or my first question to them is, well, have you taken acting lessons? Or are you an actress or an actor? And so if you're not currently taking acting classes, or if you've never tried acting, I recommend taking an acting class, whether it be at a theater, whether it's a film or television class. But voice acting is acting. So I've seen so much, especially online, about, oh, well, voice actors aren't actors. And I don't really like stereotypes, so I try to break them. And that's just farther from the truth. Voice actors are actors. It's just a different technique. So, my background is actually in theater and live action. I grew up being a theater actress, or a theatrical actress. And then I moved to California and primarily just did live action, film, and television. And Ahsoka was my first big voiceover role. I basically learned voiceover. I was a Padawan to voiceover when I was cast as Ahsoka. And so for anyone that wants to get into acting, I just say, well, you need to become an actor. So take acting lessons. And then it's really just a matter of technique. It's a different technique when you do voice acting versus live action acting, or it's a different technique when you are a host versus, something scripted. It's all just a difference in technique, but at its core, it's acting.
That's excellent advice, because I think people see things online now too and just think, well, I just plug in a mic and I voice something and I'm done. Like, I think it's the availability to do things at home has almost made things seem easier than maybe they are.
Exactly. It's, the emotions of, let's say, performing Ahsoka. The emotions are the exact same in voiceover as it would be, let's say, for live action. And, I've witnessed some of the most brilliant voice actors who are some of the most talented actors I've ever worked with. Let's say Corey Burton, who is the voice of Count Dooku and Cad Bane, is truly one of the most brilliant actors I've ever worked with. And so, it's really just a master class in acting to watch, someone like that perform. So definitely my advice would be, just become an actor, take an acting class, really study the craft of acting, and then learn the different techniques.
Excellent. I had a couple more for you, but I got a thing that we need to wrap up because somebody else is waiting for your time. So I will not keep you.
No worries. I know I can ramble, so I appreciate you letting me ramble.
No. And like I said, I was trying to hold back. So I had a lot of stuff that I wanted to get out, but we touched on the vast majority of it. I honestly, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. And whenever you have something in the works, I'd love to chat to you again.
Oh, definitely. Me too. I have some really fun things coming up once we're all out of quarantine, coming up hopefully later this year, where we've been able to combine Star Wars with children's hospitals and really using the Star Wars platform for good. So hopefully we can come back together and talk about that more, because it's, Ahsoka has a line in this new season where she says, in my life, when I find people who need your help, you help them no matter what. I guess that's just who I am. She said it in the recent episode. And so I want to use my platform for Star Wars to help people. And we have some exciting things coming up.
So looking forward to that work she's going to be doing with hospitals. And if you, order something from like Amazon or something like that, you could order her book for the kids that are quarantined, I Am a Padawan. It's an Ahsoka Tano one. And even her other book, It's Your Universe, could be good for you or it could be good for the kids, because it kind of is all about going after your goals and dreams and making them a reality. So those are out there. And yeah, it was fun to talk to her. I can't wait to talk to her when this all gets back to normal.
Yeah, and especially a book like that in these times, I think just thinking about me as almost 40 years old, like going back to work, it'd be nice to have a fresh start of an attitude too. So I think that book would help. You
want me to order It's Your Universe?
I do.
For you? Alrighty. You have one of her shirts because she has a clothing line, her universe clothing. So
that one I spilled dressing all over at Star Wars at the Millennium Falcon ride? Yeah.
That's the one. That will do it for this week. Again, thank you for all the spreading of the word of the show. Continue to do that. Subscribe if you haven't. iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this podcast. Just follow us there. And until we chat again, have a great week.